This video is sponsored by the Foggy Dew, Dublin's legendary pub, located beside the Central Bank and Temple Bar. Come in for great nights, pints and supporting Mel. Shout out to our other sponsor, Helio Gas Detection. Hey everyone, this is Letty from the Smash and Skull Sessions. I'm joined by Tristan from Grove. Tristan, how you doing?
Hello. Yeah, it's nice to meet you. And yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
Good. Thanks for taking the time out of your night to talk to me.
That's all good. I'm always happy to talk about music. So,
Same as myself. So, to the listeners who maybe haven't heard of you before, could you introduce yourself and your role in the band?
okay. Yeah, my name's Tristan Barnes. I play guitar for Growth. Like when we originally formed, we were only a three-piece, so I played a pretty heavy hand in also doing bass and things like that as well. And then since then, we've evolved into a five-piece in more of a traditional band kind of context. And yeah, I handle the artwork and all the production for the latest album as well. So I have a heavy hand in the kind of making of a bit of a DIY kind of ethic within the band. So yeah,
A man that wears many hats.
yeah, too many sometimes, but yeah.
And how did the band start?
Originally, it was my brother and I grew up playing in bands together, and I was living in Iceland, and my brother was still in Australia. And then I came back, and he went to Canada for his band that he was in. And after a long, long time, we finally ended up in the same place again, and we're like, we should probably do new music together. And I'd had a long time to think, and our tastes had changed a lot since we were younger. So I guess we had like a fresh start in that context. And yeah, and then like the initial ideas kind of we had an idea of where we wanted it to go, but then we kind of let it evolve in its own accord, and like it just became what it's become. So yeah, so
And that
some
must
was
have,
intentional, but some wasn't. So yeah,
and that must have been taking some getting used to, like the temperature difference between Australia and was it Iceland?
yeah. I love the cold though. I'll take your weather over there any day.
Be careful what you wish for. And what was your experience like in Iceland? Was it like it's supposed to be a beautiful country?
Yeah, it was great. Like I talk a lot about it. I think it was also the point in my life when I was there. It's kind of like I was there 20, I was 22 when I arrived there, so it was like a pretty transformative period of your life when you're kind of entering adulthood and like new things and like yeah, and I guess like it's obviously a drastic difference between the two countries and just the two parts of the world. So a lot apart from being new was also me like a, I come from a pretty multicultural background, so I was already exposed to a lot of that as a kid, like compared to some Australians. But uh, I guess when you're immersed in it and you don't have English, being spoken around you and things like this, that you adapt pretty quick to other factors. So, but Iceland has a really cool it's kind of more like it's a very small population, so the way it works is different to a lot of countries just because of that. But I guess you could put it to like a small country town or like a city that's in the middle of farmlands or something. There's not the population to like foster separate music scenes over there. So coming from a capital city in Australia, landing in a city where on a bill you had a punk band, a metal band, like a black metal band, and then a rock and roll band or like a female punk band, and you're like, okay. And that was just the norm there. And I kind of feel like it's opened my eyes to a lot of genre mashing and like not being like a purist when it comes to why is this band on this bill. I actually want to have more of that. So yeah,
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 it
it was
must
pretty
open your
innate.
what? Yeah. Did
Yeah,
um
and
did
I
you go to a lot of gigs over there?
yeah, I did. It's a pretty healthy music scene. A lot of local shows. Occasionally, you'd get like an American band or maybe an English or like like this is early. This is sort of 2009 to 2010 ish. But like some bands would stop over on the way to America or Europe and then like play a show. So got to see a few cool international acts. But yeah, the local scene is really really cool there. Yeah, and there's
Oh, that's
always
good to
something happening.
hear.
So some venues are literally the size of a living room, and others would be a professional venue. I've seen all kinds of crazy stuff there that I don't think I'd ever see here.
What was one of those examples maybe?
The craziest one that comes to mind is my friends in a band called Muck, who used to be on Prosthetic Records years ago. They were performing in an art gallery, pretty much downtown, and this was a like a, I guess, like a, if it was an old house converted into an art gallery, and there was a space where a doorway usually would be, and it essentially they'd covered the entrance in butcher's paper with just like a keyhole, like a peephole basically, and the band was in the other side playing completely naked.
Oh,
And so like knowing them as my friends, like you put them all in a room, a bunch of guys, and they're like most of them were pretty drunk because they wanted to get comfortable with strangers peering in on them. But they played for hours. Like most of it was just unscripted, and it was just jamming drunk naked in an art gallery. And I'm like, I would never see that here. So
sounds like an interesting art project anyway.
yeah, but that's the impression that kind of stuck with me. It's like, you can really push things to extremes, and in a situation like that where my friends understandably had some anxieties to like playing naked, at the same time no one gives a shit. It's like you can do extreme crazy things and it doesn't really matter. You're not harming anyone. It's like, yeah.
It's like the black metal, like the more you dig, the more extreme it gets. Like, what's the one story I've heard of? This guy who removed his hands for pig hooves. Now it's an urban legend, but it's
Hmm.
pretty extreme. So it's like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your new album, Under the Under, which is out the 27th of March. How was the recording for it?
The recording was really cool. Like, so that's done literally in the room I'm in right now. So it was a new studio that was built uh kind of midway. COVID hit pretty hard for Melbourne, where we are in Australia. We had one of the longest lockdowns in the world. So my career as a tattooist went out the window pretty quick because I couldn't even go to work. So I had to come up with an ulterior, not to say an ulterior career, but like plan B in case we didn't get to go back to work. So I started developing this. I'd already had a heavy hand in like most of my previous bands and our first album. And then we made the decision like, okay, I'm doing this proper studio. Once it's operational, then we can, launch into the second album. And being that my brother's the drummer, we've worked pretty close together, like with recording each other and doing that sort of thing, helping out. And uh, yeah, the recording process was really cool. We tried not to limit ourselves too much in terms of giving ourselves unnecessary deadlines or pressure because it's quite complex music. And I guess we didn't want to also give that like an open-ended expiry date where you just kind of go, what's another 6 months? It's like you have to finish it at some point. So
Yeah.
uh, it was really cool in that sense. We got to really dig in and like experiment, like take our time with ideas and like go through them and like, is this the right moment for this idea, or can we do better? Yeah. So like
Nice.
time's an asset when you're being creative. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's always good to like not limit yourself to a really hard deadline because then you feel burnt out and under pressure.
Yeah, and I think everyone. I have lots of weird creative analogies, but I think everyone understands if you're like a cook or, a dancer or whatever it is, that there's a point in like you feel prepared for what's about to happen, and some of it is just performance in the moment. But then sometimes people are like, I just needed an extra week. That's all it was. So we wanted to make sure we felt that sense of being comfortable with what we're doing, at least that. So
A nice
yeah, not
balanced
not in terms
mix.
of, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because it's like there's a mental thing being creative and like believing, it's like an actor believing their performance. It's like rather than like fumbling their way through it and like I know the line, but the rest of it's kind of not there. It's like if you're trying to convince someone in that sense. So yeah.
Cool. And do you have a favorite memory from the recording?
Oh, favorite memory. I think the drum takes were pretty special. Like for my brother and myself, like just the two of us in a room again. That was a pretty because the last album we did have some additional help, and it obviously wasn't in my studio. So just purely as brothers as well, the two of us being in one space doing it again, and it kind of like felt like a bit of a return to home in a sense. And yeah, like it's. I mean, I'm in the live room right now, so we actually recorded. I'm in the same space as the drummer, so we're looking at each other the entire time. So it's a pretty intimate kind of way to do it, I guess. But yeah, so that was pretty special, I think. Yeah,
A nice full circle moment.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, if it was growing up as like teenagers playing in our bedrooms or whatever. So yeah,
Awesome. And how did you come up with the title Under the Under?
that was Luke. I can kind of loosely reference to like his analogy, I guess, for that particular song, which is then obviously where we got the album title from. So the reference to Under the Under was like the rock bottom as being underneath everything, but then there's something under that. So it's like under rock bottom, if in a sense, like the
Okay.
absolute bottom.
Not
Yeah,
even
but we like
bedrock under.
yeah, so we like to get a bit weird as well, and like and play around with these phrasings and analogies of things. So yeah, so there's a little bit that there is a factor of being literal, but then there's also a bit more of a play on that as well. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, I really like it and I like the title song as well. I've listened to the album, it's excellent.
Thank you. Yeah, the title song was a favorite of mine as well. That's when like we had all the song titles. Luke had most of those established when he'd written the lyrics, and then obviously like we'd assigned what song was what and gone through all of that. But then you come up to this point of what sums up the album. Like you've got to pick a few words or a sentence that collectively puts this together. And I just saw that song and I was like, that's really good as it is, man. Like it's a bit of a mysterious, like weird play on words, or so. And it's like sometimes ideas just sound good, or you don't doubt it, and you just go, okay, that's it. Like, yeah,
Sometimes simplicity is best.
yeah, exactly. And we know, like, I mean, we've all listened to albums with super long titles or thesaurus like words, and it's a bit over the top. Like it should be not to say simple, but more simple. Yeah.
Like some of the early like metalcore songs and like bands that I like with like the really long titles. It's like I'm trying to tell someone about a song and it's like a quote from like some B movie and
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
so some of them are painful, but it's a nice time capsule of what the scene was like in maybe 2009 to 2010.
Yeah. I think yeah, time and a place, certain styles of music it suits, but yeah, I think for us we have really long songs as well, and there's quite a lot of lyrics per song. Being that a lot of these are 9-minute songs, so it's effectively two songs in one. So we just wanted to be able to boil that down a little bit in some ways. I'll
Nice.
get to writing short songs eventually, but
You'll be on the radio in no time.
yeah.
If you could collaborate with any musician, dead or alive, who would it be?
Oh, that's a really good question. Oh man. I have a short list, but I don't know if I have like an absolute answer for that. So,
List them off. I don't mind.
all right. Well, like Deftones are my favorite band ever. So that is one that like I just think, and again, I know they're not like a super technical or really, really heavy band, but just for me, in terms of the various influences they pull together, I feel like it'd be a really interesting musical conversation and just seeing what comes back. And like I love being caught off guard by things in like a surprised kind of way. So I feel like that'd be a really interesting jam if that were to happen or something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah. Just like that's the beauty of writing songs and like and being surprised by something that just happens and you're like, what was that? Do that again, kind of thing. And I feel like certain people have a tendency to go for more of that, which is quite cool. Yeah.
They're very similar to a band called Animals as Leaders, as in like catching you off
Yeah.
guard. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Have
that's
you?
something I value is like, and we think a lot about in our music being like predictable in moments, but then also like surprising people. It's kind of like it's like a good horror film. It's like I want to feel the dread and know what's going to happen, but then something's still going to shock me and not a jump scare. So yeah.
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 Have you caught Deftones on their private music tour yet? I don't know if they're coming to Australia.
They are in May, so I'll be seeing them pretty soon. Yeah, I've seen them a bunch of times over the years, which has been excellent. But yeah, they're definitely a lot bigger now. So this is the first time they've played a stadium here, so it should be
Yeah,
interesting.
I caught them for the first time ever in February when they did Europe.
Nice. Yeah.
And my biggest complaint about seeing them, like, of course, they were excellent, but some of the songs that they played were just so slow.
Oh,
Like
really?
the yeah, like Be Quiet and Drive, I'd say that was a good 20 or 30 BPM slower than it is on the record.
Oh, wow. That's
So,
interesting. I didn't really think about that. Yeah. I mean, it's been 7, 8+ years since they were here last, I think. Well, actually, maybe like 6, 7 years. But yeah, I don't recall it being that much slower. But I would definitely, yeah, I would feel that too. That's quite drastic. So
yeah, so I was singing along and I'd be way too fast for Tina and he'd just start singing. I'd be like, wait, I thought we were past this part.
interesting. I wonder whether that's intentional or it's just. I mean, they are getting older, but like I'm not
I think.
sure. I'll pay attention to that when I see them.
Yeah, it just annoyed me. Like, well, not annoyed. It was just kind of irritating. I'm
Um,
going to see them again in August, so I'd like to see if they do it again or if it's just it was maybe the last few bits of the tour. We're get catching up with them.
yeah, yeah, true. Could be. Yeah, who knows? Maybe someone might have been sick and you don't know as well. There's all sorts of factors, I think, with touring. And I feel like, and they're a good band for this. I mean, we've all watched a bunch of YouTube footage of various bands playing live, but I feel like certain bands like them in particular, they don't play with click tracks. It's just very organic. So the fact that they can slow down that much is something that a lot of bands could never even do, Like, yeah. So it is interesting.
That's a talent in itself.
Yeah, it is. Like, like if I was to play one of our songs and like you said, be, 2 bars ahead thinking what's just happening right now, it just wouldn't occur. It's like it couldn't. It would feel really strange playing it, that sort of different tempo. So yeah.
Yeah, like if bands play without a click, they usually rush, not go slower. Like,
Yeah, exactly. And not by that kind of margin as well. So
I don't know,
yeah.
maybe it was just me.
Yeah, no, but I feel like if you subconsciously notice things like that, it's generally there. It's like that's a feel thing. It's like if I'm tapping my foot and thinking, well, they're playing. There's a video of I think it's Sepultura. I don't know if it's Roskilde Festival in Denmark or maybe it's Dynamo in the Netherlands, but they're playing one of their songs, which is already quite fast, but they just play it. It's probably 30-40% faster than what the recording is. And I remember thinking, holy shit, this is so aggressive. But then the song is almost so different because of how fast they're playing it. And it's obviously intentional because you can see them getting into it, but it just takes you a second to go, wow, okay, this is the same song.
Yeah, it's different takes. Like,
Yeah. It's cool. I don't mind it like when people redo that, or like if it's a really like a lot of time, like maybe Be Quiet and Drive is a good example, but so much time has passed. It's like they kind of lean into it a little bit differently, because and as well they've probably played that song, I'd hate probably 10,000 times by now. I don't know, but
yeah, they opened with it as well when I saw them in Dublin. And you know when they hang on that last note just before the last bit,
yeah.
they didn't play it and went into another song. I was just like, oh, come on.
They did it more like a medley. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
they kind of paired like the first part of one song and then another part, and then maybe some of them they only played to the halfway mark and then just went on to the next one. They did play
Yeah.
24, 25 songs to be fair.
That's probably why I would say, even as a headliner, if they're trying to cram that much into a set, that is a lot. And you'd be surprised. Like, I mean, we have to think about it, but if it's like half a minute or a minute you're saving, and therefore you're playing three or four more like crowd favorites, or that kind of thing. Like, it definitely, yeah.
Because
You
I
need to
remember,
make those decisions. Yeah.
yeah, I remember watching a YouTube video about Korn. They were preparing, I think, for their 2013 world tour just after Head had come back.
Okay. Yeah.
And they were doing their set list and they were like, oh, let's just pair up a bunch of the songs. So we'll do maybe some of them to the bridge and then do the ending of another song, which I think is cool.
Yeah. I think it's a good idea, and that's what I meant by like the predictability or surprise kind of thing too. Because a bunch of bands will do that. They'll play the first half and they'll go into a really exciting part of another song, and you're just like, oh my god, and you know the song, but you just weren't expecting it to come in then. So
Yeah.
there's yeah, some bands actually do that quite well, I think. Yeah.
Speaking of Korn, are you going to see them? Are they coming to Australia anytime
Uh,
soon?
I think they came to a festival. I didn't go. I saw them. I saw them on the Untouchables tour years ago with like I think it was like Static X and Fear Factory. It was a long time ago.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, that was a really good show. But yeah, I grew up on a lot of Korn, and like I had a 7-string guitar like early Korn days when like I could barely find them in Australia, and yeah, like they're a great band, and yeah, I like seeing them. They're definitely a good live band, and especially for like crowd participation with like sing-alongs and kind of just the energy. You can kind of feel the reaction in the crowd, which is quite cool. So
Oh,
yeah.
cool, because I'm going to see them again for the first time in November because I missed them when they supported Slipknot when they came over in 2017.
Oh
And
wow, that would
then
have
the
been cool.
last
Yeah, yeah.
and then the last time Korn came over by themselves, they played, this is going to sound mental. They played only a 500 capacity venue.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
wow, that would have been really cool. Where was that? Was that advertised then? It sounds like it would be something that would get out of control if they told people that was happening.
I don't know. I just seen that they played the Academy, which is the venue that they played, a 500 capacity venue. Foo Fighters did it and they advertised it like the day before they played it.
Yeah, okay. That's pretty cool. I think I was talking to my brother about this. Like I'm about to buy a ticket to see Loathe. They're
Okay.
coming down, and I saw them last time they were here, and they're playing a much bigger venue this time around, which is like I'm very excited about because obviously like you want to see bands you like do like succeed and move up in the tiers. But we saw them at this venue. There would have been like 200 or 300 people there, no space. Like you can almost touch the ceiling, and knowing like a band like that or Foo Fighters and Korn, like seeing them in a space like that, it's so much more intimate, and like the whole crowd is so much more responsive because they're all like, holy shit, we're in here, you know.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. So
I saw
yeah.
Turnstile and it was a really interesting concept because the venue that they'd sold out was really tiny. So they decided to move it to a bigger arena, but they only sold the
Okay.
floor. And I thought that was really interesting.
Oh wow. So it was yeah, okay, so it almost like no seating, it was all standing kind of thing,
Yeah,
or
there is seats in the arena, but they didn't sell them and only sold the floor.
okay, that's different. Yeah, well.
Yeah, so maybe it's the new way of selling gigs, only sell the floor.
Yeah, I mean it is a different experience when you're seated as to like standing watching the band. So yeah,
I think
interesting.
that in Ireland doesn't really have any mid kind of capacity venues. Like the Free Arena is 14,000, and then there's those little
Yeah,
2,000 and 500, 600 capacity venues.
I think that seems to be a problem everywhere. I mean, like not to I have a lot of weird things that I read up and look into. I'm a little bit autistic sometimes, so there's um I look a lot into like music scenes in various places, and I'm up to date with what's happening back in Iceland. And obviously a lot of countries right now have housing crises, and everything's super expensive, and that's had a huge effect on mid-sized venues because people are developing properties, or you know like there's less smaller bars because it's harder for them to keep afloat, and people aren't drinking as much, which is usually what like helps them pay their
Yeah.
bills. But it creates like a weird there's like a weird stepping stone that's missing now for like smaller bands or bands maybe not so small, but like bands that are at a certain point that would normally take like a bit of a step up, but you can't go to a stadium that's too big. It's like, you know, but it so
Yeah,
it is
we
interesting. Sorry, you go.
no, it's all right. You go ahead.
So I just think I've noticed like certain bands will pair up for tours or like things like that to sort of because that makes it work for both bands at a bigger venue, or maybe to help one of these bands sort of get to a point where they can play the bigger venue on their own the next time they come back to town, or yeah.
I've noticed that a lot actually because Anthrax, Creator, and Testament, they all paired up to go on like this big headline gig
Oh
with
wow, yeah.
Anthrax and Creator co-headlining it and Testament as direct support. And they played the Free Arena, which is the 14,000 capacity one. I think they
Yeah,
only
yeah.
sold like 4,000 tickets.
Damn. I mean, that's still a big show, but yeah, at a venue that size, that's hard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is hard. Like, and I bought tickets recently to go see Enter Shikari. Are you familiar with them?
The name, I actually should check them out. I have, yeah, that's good. I like when I don't know music by bands because then I actually have to go listen to it, which is a
Yeah.
good thing. So,
I bought tickets to go see them, and they were going to play the Ambassador Theatre, which used to take on gigs like they've seen Megadeth and Slayer, like bands like that. And
cool.
that seemed to be our mid-sized venue, but then they've had to move all the gigs they've booked back out of it again because I think it's still undergoing renovation.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a shame, but it is as it is.
Yeah, it's true. Well, hopefully some of those bands come back and pair up with like with other bands that can make that work.
Yeah, I like it when that happens because then you see like three or four really great bands and then they all get
Yeah.
like a great venue, a great crowd, and obviously make money.
Yeah, but that's what I meant by like the mixed bill kind of thing as well. I think like what you just said, sometimes, I could ask a friend, I'm not going to reference a band here, but like say, do you want to see band one? And they'd be like, oh, I'm not really into them, but I'm like, but these guys are playing. And then they're like, okay, there's a band they really like, they'll come down and maybe then watch the band that they weren't so sure about and actually be into it or be like, okay, now I get it. So sometimes I think that's really cool as well. And like, I was having this conversation with someone last week. A friend of mine is the tour manager for Eivor. So she's the Faroese singer, and a friend of hers that came along hadn't heard the music, just went in blind, and I think that's really cool. It's like watching a movie without watching the trailer, and just
Yeah.
I have no idea what I'm expecting. Let's go. And I think well, obviously we live in a culture of like singles and advertising, and there's a lot of that kind of drip feeding before something comes out. And I try to not to say close my eyes, but try to like be open to the full experience the way it's supposed to be experienced. So
I do that quite a lot. I'll buy tickets for a band I've no idea what to expect and then come out maybe 10 times more being like, I really need to check what they are like on a record like because their live show really
yeah,
impressed me.
yeah, exactly. And I think that's a lot of people would come around to bands if they like leaned into that perspective a little bit.
Yeah. I've done it myself even buying tickets just to see the support. Like who did I did it most recently for? Bad Omens came over and they had on support The Ghost Inside. And I'm a massive Ghost Inside fan. I only went to really see them. Bill Murray,
Yeah,
who were like the direct support, I wasn't a fan of, and Bad Omens were only all right. But the fact I'd got to see The Ghost Inside, I was happy out.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. Like sometimes it's like sometimes the band you go to see is still like the highlight of the night, and that's probably what you'd expect in that case. But I still think it's nice to see, yeah, bands that I maybe don't regard so highly. Not that I dislike them, but I'll give it a shot in that context. Yeah,
Yeah,
and I
like
think like especially at festivals, festivals definitely can be a bit more like that because there's so many artists playing that it's like I'm there. Of course, I'll go check out three songs from this band. I have to. So
yeah.
yeah.
Does Australia have a big kind of festival since Soundwave died? I know Knotfest came over a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I think we had it twice, although it was spaced out. I think COVID was partially to blame for a bit of that, but we have good things now, which is still by one of the biggest promoters in Australia that like puts on regular, tours, and that's quite good. I think everyone got a bit spoiled. Soundwave was a very stacked bill for our country, considering how far everyone has to come. And I feel like people that kind of that experience that sort of look at the newer festival and kind of think, oh, this isn't as good. But it's like this, for one, the artists and the personnel get paid. That's kind of what Soundwave went downhill. So, and my brother played Soundwave a year that Metallica did years ago. So like I heard through people I actually know about like that didn't eventuate. And I know people that work for the promotional company for Good Things, which is our current festival, that it's really, really well run and everyone gets taken care of. But it's sort of a 1 day fest, usually February-ish, I think. I think it's December. It's usually like just as summer comes in for us.
Yeah.
And everyone's obviously very excited about that here, apart from me. And yeah. But yeah, they have a good time, and I just hope the lineups get a little more experimental, or like bringing out bands that are a little bit more, not to say risky, but because there is an element of making your money back when booking a festival. Some of the bands are a little bit in the safer space, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I have one prediction for the festival season anyway. I don't know if you've seen on Instagram the polka dot guys, the drummer and the guitarist.
Oh yeah, the two guys. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think they're going to be booked for the next couple of festivals over the next few years anyway. They've just gone absolutely mega viral.
Yeah, I've actually seen, I think it was like only a few days ago, someone I know, a promoter here, was actually sharing that. And I was like, yeah, okay. Yeah. Fair call.
I like the conspiracy that they're Daft Punk, and I'm like, that would be so cool if that was the case. I think the only
cool.
Yeah, I think the only commonality is they wear masks and they're French.
Yeah.
So I'll keep the tinfoil hat on for now on that one.
Yeah. I kind of like it though. It's like, I mean, it's hard to be anonymous in this day and age, but yeah, I think it has a cool vibe to it.
I saw one snippet of an interview. They were on like a red carpet or something, and they just started speaking their own language. I was like, cool. It wasn't even French or English or anything. It was like, buh, 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 buh.
Nice. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. We touched on it a little bit earlier, but what is the music scene like in Melbourne?
It's pretty diverse. So Melbourne, I'm pretty sure by now, we are the biggest city in Australia, as far as I'm aware. We just overtook Sydney. So, but it's Melbourne in particular has always had like a pretty strong arts and culture kind of scene, I guess. Like that Melbourne was always the place for like graffiti and street art, and we always had a lot of that. You're always surrounded by this kind of stuff, and I feel like the music scene was kind of similar. There were so many venues, and certain venues were renowned for more of like a traditional heavy metal kind of thing, and then you'd have places that were more like emo metalcore, and like there was little, not to say sections, but like spaces where you could go to hear a specific sound.
Yeah.
But there's always been a bit of a crossover in Melbourne too. There was a lot of like thrash and grindcore and that kind of stuff, and in a way that kind of bleeds out into all these other subgenres. And but the music scene here is it's thriving. There's constantly shows. But like again, I listen to a pretty wide range of heavy music. Some people less so, and that's fine. But like, there's definitely venues you could go to like every month and see like a good quality show in that kind of vein of like death metal or thrash band, or like something that's just a more modern metalcore, or whatever it might be. So yeah, there's a lot, and especially we get pretty spoiled here and slightly prioritized on like say maybe not Deftones, but like I think you're wearing a Fit for an Autopsy. It looks like
I am, yes.
Yeah, cool. All right. So but bands like that they'll do really well here, but then there'll be another band in town on the same night, and then that happens mostly in Melbourne because it's the safe city for like people will show up to the shows. But the problem is then sometimes you go, oh, I have to pick one, and that's happened quite a few times. Where even when I've had a free ticket, I think it was like Death Heaven, and then I tried to give it to a friend, and then he was like, oh, I'm going to Mayhem, and I'm just like, how is that on the same night? Like, you know, and they're different bands, but like of all nights, I'm like, really okay. So
That's surprising. I thought most bands would go to Sydney.
Sydney's probably just I think it's a bit from what I've heard from friends that live there, just because like the way it is like geographically, it's for some people that live like let's say north and south of the city, it's kind of like an hour commute to get somewhere. And if the venue's on the north side, it's like something you've got to really you're going to see all the bands. You're not just going
Okay.
to
Yeah.
pop in and see a few after work or and I so it can from this is only what I've heard, but it can be a little bit hit or miss unless it's like a to die for fan that's just I'm going no matter what. So yeah.
Yeah, because I think my introduction to the Australian music scene anyway, probably like most people would have been Parkway Drive.
Yeah, okay. Interesting. Because I mean like my brother and I grew up on the Sunshine Coast, so it was like 3 or 4 hours north of Byron Bay where they're from. So like driving distance and a bunch of my friends when we were not 18 would like I was the metal kid in the hardcore group of punk people and I didn't fit in at all, neither did they, but like I remember them going down and there was actually a street sign Parkway Drive and it got stolen. One of my friends still has it somewhere, but it's and then they replaced it with like a stone, I think it's a stone and metal kind of monument because you can't take it out of the ground now because it happened continually. So yeah, but they were seeing Parkway Drive in I don't know if other countries have something called a PCYC. It's kind of like a youth hall, I guess. But
Well, thing we
the,
call them YMCA's or just youth clubs.
yeah, that would probably be the equivalent. So like you're not talking like a massive room. It's pretty like bare. Maybe they have some fold out tables and that kind of deal. And like Parkway were playing a bunch of those type venues, and that's where my friends would see them. And then now they're playing in ginormous stadiums with all the pyro and floating platforms. It's pretty crazy, like just mentally thinking back and going, wow, okay, that's come a long way. So
Yeah, they had that whole event in the Sydney Opera House, didn't they?
yeah, it's a pretty big one. I had a few friends that flew up for that actually, so yeah.
Were they impressed?
Yeah, they were definitely. I think yeah, those kind of venues or like special events, I think they stick with you. It's not your
Yeah,
average kind of show. So yeah.
100%. Do you have any favorite albums of 2026 so far, or any that you're really looking forward to getting released?
This year? Give me a sec. I hate being on my phone for things, but it jogs my memory. So just let me look at this real quick.
Cheat away, don't worry.
Actually, the first thing that came up, Neurosis, that just came out. That's mind-boggling. That's one of my favorite bands. I've literally got one of their album covers tattooed on my hand. So it's like I thought they were done, and they've come back and they've released. Just, I mean, given the time we're in as well, it's a pretty precarious time for the world, and everyone's feeling the weight of like world events. And I think they've just come out with a really cathartic, almost like purge of emotions and it kind of feels like we're all feeling exactly that. So I sent it to a friend late at night because I'm a night owl, so I get things from northern time zones when I'm still up. And I sent it to him, and it was just like the perfect timing because it was just venting in the best way possible. So yeah, the last Neurosis is probably going to be one of my albums of the year, I would say. So yeah,
Awesome. I'll
I'm just
definitely
trying
have
to
to check it out.
yeah, oh they're fantastic. Sorry, I am listening.
You all
What else
right?
have I got? Hmm. The latest Converge is really good as well. I really, really like that. And that's also a band that's been around 30, I think over 30 years now. And I've loved the last few albums, but it's like I guess when you refine your energy and not to say inspiration because they're obviously inspired, but it feels renewed. It's got like a lot of urgency and a lot of like, genuine feeling and weight behind it. So
Like almost going
yeah,
back and finding their roots and putting out a new album based on that.
yeah, but with their modern kind of take on like where the band has evolved to, but with that old like younger energy and I don't know, it did that caught me off guard as well in a really pleasant way. But so that's definitely something that I've been listening to quite a lot. And what else have I got here? I'm having a look. Sorry. What else? I listen to a lot of music, so I think it's 2025. Might not be this year. I don't. Oh, actually, no, no, wait. The new Nothing album. I don't know if you know
Okay.
the band Nothing from
I
America.
don't.
They're really cool. It's like it's not. I wouldn't really call it metal. It's more like some of it's kind of dream pop meets shoegaze, kind of slightly indie, but then they bring in like slight moments of electronica or like other stuff. And they've yeah, I really like them as a band. They've just got some really cool, really well written songs, and it just hits the spot when you're in a certain mood. So yeah.
It's just chef's kiss when you're in a certain mood.
Yeah, and I listen to a lot of really heavy stuff, but I actually listen to a lot that's very, I wouldn't say depressive, I'd say very mellow and moody. And I love, like, not to say ambient, but it's music that just kind of surrounds you in a sense, as opposed to hitting you in the face.
Yeah.
So so I kind of alternate between the two. So this is definitely the calmer, more like I'm drawing and working on some art, and for an hour I lose my place in the world. So it works.
It's your meditation.
Yeah, yeah, it does. It just disconnects you in the way that you want to be disconnected. So yeah.
Nice one. And we're on to our last question.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for anyone wanting to start a band in 2026?
Um, yeah, definitely. I mean, some of this is still just my opinion, but I would say like don't I mean, from a creative vision kind of standpoint, and like this is something I read years ago, and some of it sounds like common sense, but I feel like there's still not as much as we would think in the world today. Um, that just leaning into your own kind of creative sensibilities, and not shaping it based on an expectation of this worked for this band, or I like Bring Me the Horizon, so I'm, like I actually like that band, but I dislike how many bands shape their own persona around that. It's like, do your own thing, man. They're already doing that. Like
Yeah.
it, you can lean on that as like a heavy influence, but I feel like listen to the all them, like what you just asked me, like these are all the bands I'm listening to. Do they all come through in what I'm writing? Because that's what I listen to. I'm not basing myself off one guitarist personality or that kind of. I think just be more honest with yourself, and people react better to that because they recognize that that's you being yourself. It's yeah. I think that's a really important thing. With like I've been tattooing for 10 years, doing artwork for 10 to 20, and I've seen what resonates with people across different art forms, and it's usually what you wanted to do for yourself, and not trying to sell it to someone kind of way. And obviously with like social media and things going viral, apart from those two guys who did pretty well, like that's what I mean, they're doing their own thing. I can't think of one thing that reminds me of that. That's exactly what I mean. I think you're going to go further standing on your own legs than kind of leaning on someone else that's already standing there. So yeah. So yeah,
That's
I
nice.
think
Trying to be an individualist in a world of copies.
yeah, and that's honestly what I think the world needs more of. I feel like we've and I have a strong, opinion on social media and these kind of things. I still use it like sparingly, but it's we're all kind of, it's a really dumb analogy, but it kind of gets the picture through. It's kind of like the baby thing where you're holding the round peg and it's a square hole, or like that kind of thing. And we're all being told to be the square, going into the square peg, and it annoys the shit out of me because it's like then we just end up with 30 bands that sound the same, and it's like the first one who got through the gate starts the new trend or a new sound. And like I know this still happens like within musical norms over the years, but I feel like we need to lean into being more unique, and like get a little bit of independence back, and not caring about belonging to a group or like to fit in. We were never designed to do that.
I
Yeah.
think that's what Bring Me the Horizon got sick of. And I saw a great quote being like, Bring Me the Horizon are about 5 to 7 years ahead of the music game. So all the stuff they did on Ammo
Yeah.
is what everyone's doing now.
Yeah. And I like that's the thing. Like I liked that album. I actually really liked the most recent stuff, but I think what I really give them credit for again is that they obviously listen to different styles of music and were like, yeah, I'm over being this deathcore kind of, fitting into that hole. It's like let's let this other melodic stuff through less all the electronic, the synth stuff, and they leaned into it really hard. And like you said, there's a wave of that right now in many bands, and some are doing it quite well, but they are riding that big wave. And some people just dive off of it and just try all this stuff. And I think, like for them, it paid off massively. So yeah.
Yeah, they took a risk, gambled it. We're like, we're done with Suicide Season, deathcore kids. Let's go full attack attack.
Yeah, yeah, and there's a like a thing like I grew up with a little bit of David Bowie when I was younger through mum, but there was a quote I read. I think it was probably when I first got on the internet. Was this a while ago, but he was kind of saying I can't paraphrase it, but it was an analogy of walking out into the water and just getting to the point where the water is like at your chin and you have to sort of stand on your tippy toes, and it's this point of like you need to start being a little uncomfortable and start doing something instead of just standing back there where it's all safe, and like the same thing's going to happen back there. So
Yeah.
and that's like, especially with our album now, it's a reminder to do that, because otherwise I'm just, not to say repeating myself, but I'm not taking new life experiences out of this. It's like it should be different.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But again, just going back to Bring Me the Horizon, I love the way that they just stood behind Ammo, even with everyone rejecting, being like, oh, this is anything like Sempiternal. We want another Sempiternal.
Yeah, yeah.
I
It's true.
remember the
And
amount of hate they got for that album. Like, that was the album I was
yeah,
like, all right, I'm here for this album cycle. Cool, it's great. I remember everyone just giving them so much crap for it.
yeah, yeah. But that's the thing too. It's like I can't remember who said it, but there's truth to this too. It's like, say you have an established sound like they did over albums, and then you have one, I wouldn't say a breakthrough album, but it's definitely one that launched them into a much bigger space. If you alienate fans by changing your sound drastically from that point, you do get people that are upset. And I still feel like people on the internet will complain about something regardless, there's but there's also that thing of like they don't owe you anything, and like they're the ones in a room, and that if they like, again, it's like someone with a stick going, do this again, and it's just like, why do they like, I'd feel horrible making someone try to do that if someone did that to me. It's like I'd rather a million people said this sucks and put that out than go the other way around and then go like, I spent 2 years on this thing, I don't want to think about it. And that's the point of a creative risk. It's you should be, yeah. I give them a lot of credit for that, and bands that do take a giant leap in progressing their sounds, or really like, you go, holy shit, like their last album was nothing like this. This is, I think it's interesting because it also means like when I get to the next album, I don't know what they're gonna do, and I'm looking forward to that. Like it's new.
I think we should all just become Buckethead fans because he's got 439 albums, so there's something for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. That
Any
guy's
more advice?
relentless.
Any more advice, or is that everything?
Uh yeah, apart from the creative stuff, I would say, hmm, maybe more about the creative process and like creative identities. It's like my brother and I, we are kind of the initial songwriters with growth, and we, like I said, we listen to a wider range of music, and different members listen to different types of music independently. And sometimes I would have very straight idea about what something it sounds like in my head, and I allow my brother to come in and send it in a completely different direction, and it can be refreshing. Sometimes it just does not work, or it sounds worse, but you always try it. You have to try the ideas to know. I feel like if you shoot someone down before you've tried it, it's like you're doing that too soon. And not to be like upset when someone does shoot an idea down, because at the end of the day, you have a million ideas and they're not all great. It's
Yeah.
okay. Like it's, the good ones will come, and everyone usually looks at each other and goes, what was that? And then that's, yeah. So like, yeah, don't like, be honest during the creative process, I would say. Yeah.
That's fair enough. And, always be the triangle trying to go into the rectangle hole.
Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect. Tristan, thank you so much for taking the time out your night to chat with me.
That's okay. Thanks for taking the time out of your morning to chat with me.
No worries at all. And Under the Under is out the 27th, which is today.
Yeah. So I hope everyone enjoys it and have a listen.